Hello and welcome to MINYIP, your fantasy sports community. I'm your host, Blake, coach of Youngies Yaks, and I'm joined by Clinton.
Coach of Dash's Dogs. It's good to be back, Blake.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of time off. It was a little bit unwell there, and we've worked on the show, how we're presenting the show, and we've got a few new segments. So if you're watching or listening for the first time, make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are on the new segments. How you been, Clinton?
I'm going well, thank you, Blake. I'm glad you're okay now after a little.
Well, I'm still a bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit snuffly, but we'll go up.
So I think it's worthwhile mentioning we're combining both formats from now on. So we're combining Supercoach and AFL Fantasy. So the first half will be Supercoach, second half will be AFL Fantasy. So see how we go, and we'll record every Wednesday night from now on. So looking forward to that, and 5 rounds down, and it's all happening.
It sure is. Yep, like you said, we'll be posting this on a Wednesday night, so you might not see it till the Thursday morning. Now that the Thursday games have been removed for the time being, and we're back to the traditional Friday night. So we'll record on the Wednesday. So if there's team news breaking, we'll be posting on our socials before kickoff of game one of the round. Let's get into the show, Clinton, with our round review. I couldn't play it for any longer.
Oh wow!
Just that went for an extra 4 seconds, but that was enough of that.
Very somber.
It was true reflection of how my round went, Clinton. So I scored 2,125 in the end. So not a great result considering I dropped 5,570 ranking spots to now be 28,091 overall. So, not a really great result for Youngies Yaks. My trades that I made, I had to get rid of. Well, in the end, I decided to get rid of Patrick Cripps because of his injury. After Rochelle failed for me on the bench, only scoring 49, I wasn't going to cop that on my field, so I traded him out for Tim Taranto, who scored 92. Not a great return, but he'll be a season-long keeper who eventually will be pushed into my forward line. That was one of my trades, and other than that, I think I only made the one trade, Clinton, in the end. How did your round go?
Yes, my round, I scored 22-34, which on face value wasn't too bad. I went up in ranks to 16,436. So reasonably happy with the score. A couple of serious stuff ups within my actual team, though. I'll talk about my trades first. I actually also got rid of Cripps, and I also got out Josh Ward, and I brought in O'Driscoll, which was obviously a smart buy, and Doherty, who only scored the 86. So I'm hoping he can rebound back to his premium scores this weekend. As I said, I made a bit of a cardinal sin of trying to be a bit cute with my emergency scores, and I had my team all structured up, ready to go. But then, for whatever reason, at the last minute, I got a bit cute, as I said, and I ended up having McCartan as an emergency, and also Hugh Dixon, which then locked a few members of my team. And long story short, I ended up having O'Driscoll and Jack Hayes on my bench, which was not my intentions at all. So I stuffed up my team somewhat, which cost me about 100 points there. And then also, all along, I was going to VC Neil into McRae. And then as the Bulldogs game was about to start, I thought, I think Max Gawn will play well again, which he did. He did score 130, but obviously McRae scored 153. So could have scored about 130 or 40 more points than what I did, but still reasonably happy.
Yeah, not too bad there, Clinton. We were against each other in a league matchup there, and pretty much you outscored me by what Tom Stewart scored. Sorry, I did make one other trade. I traded out Bowie, who had a break even of 82. He ended up overscoring that, so not a great
Just, yeah.
trade, but I traded him out for George Hewitt, who I should have got on at the start, but I didn't. So, and he scored 111. So overall, happy with that trade. Made a bit of cash on Bauer before trading him out, and now Hewitt will be a keeper in my back line. So that was my other trade there that I forgot to mention. Yep. Let's get into the next segment, which is we did do this in last Supercoach show, Clinton, but it's our Guess Who segment. Another one that you're looking.
I'm not a huge fan of these ones.
Yeah, so that was your Guess Who segment there for our podcast listeners who didn't see that on screen. Guess Who, Clinton?
Yeah. Have you done a lot of research into this, Blake? Or
I've picked out a player who. Guess who? I'm averaging above 120 over the last 3 matches. Just shout out when you know the answer, Clinton.
I think I know it.
All right, hit me.
You're thinking of Alex Witherden.
How did you know?
I know my Supercoach, Blake, and I knew you're going to pick someone outlandish. And I know he's scored well the last couple of weeks, so I thought I'd have a stab in the dark. And
it wasn't going to be Jack's. It wasn't going to be Jack Sinclair again, a repeat of my Guess Who from last time.
No, I don't. So is that correct, Alex Witherden?
Alex Witherden is correct. He's the only other defender who's scored over 120 over the last 3 rounds. Yeah.
I take it back what I said before. I do like this Guess Who. Well done. That was a good segment.
Well, that was short and sharp segment for a second. Well,
it's almost like it's set up, but it's not. Yeah, I think obviously what's played into his favour was the COVID situation, but yeah, he's obviously been taking control of things down back, and the ball's been down there a bit, and he's getting a lot of the ball. So I don't think it's someone we'll be bringing in, despite his high scoring. Okay.
Well, wait till our trade plans there, Clinton.
Wow.
There's something to stay tuned for.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe not in your team, but it's definitely under consideration. So, let's move on to bold predictions, Clinton. Hit me with your bold predictions, please.
Some random bold predictions. Okay. For this coming week, I currently have 3 Melbourne players in Bowie, Petrarca, and Gawn. We'll get to trade plans later, but at this stage, there's every chance I'm going to bring in Clayton Oliver. My bold prediction is that between the 4 of those players, now they're relatively well owned, but I think there's quite a few sold, gone. A lot of people who don't have Petrarca yet, or Oliver for that matter. Bowie's been in and out of people's teams, which is your team included. Those 4 players to score 500 plus points. How about that?
So an average 125 points each between them.
That's pretty bold, I think.
Let me just have a look at some of their scores.
They're playing Richmond. They're playing Richmond, and
so that's between Gawn, Oliver, Petrarca, and Bowie. Did you say?
Correct.
Wow, that's bold.
Thank you.
I like that.
500 points between them. Let's see how close I get.
That's your best bold prediction yet. Have you got another one for me?
This is only the second time we've done it, but yeah. My second bold prediction is that Ben Hobbs and Sam Hayes, obviously have just played their first games. They will both score 90 plus to become must-haves next week, because I don't suggest getting them in this week, but I think they'll both score 90 plus and become must-haves next week. How about that?
90 plus. Yeah, okay. It's not as bold as the Melbourne one, but that's pretty good.
Even par.
And did you have a third one?
Do you want me to go 3?
Did you have a third one? I'm asking you.
Did I have a third one? I did, in case you asked me for a random third one.
Yeah.
Rosas, who's on the bubble
Is that
this
how you
weekend.
pronounce it?
No, I don't know. That's how I'm saying it. How have you been saying it?
Roses?
Let's find out. Let's investigate.
Matt Roses made a comeback and then added an S to his name.
Yeah, he will score. He's on the bubble this week. There's a lot of people avoiding him, thinking that he's not a great selection. I think he'll score. Let's go another 90 plus, and then he'll make people who dismiss him this week pay with a 90 plus score as well. How about that?
Yeah, well, that's pretty good from you, Clinton. He's got the lowest break even there. Roses going. Oh, besides Bruce, sorry. Bruce and Roses have got the lowest break evens going into this game.
Yep.
My bold prediction is Braden Bruce,
Mm-hmm.
who I think is a must-have. We can discuss that shortly. He will score 120 plus. That bold enough for you?
I'll be satisfied with that.
Yep.
A lot will depend if Flynn plays as well. But
that is very true.
I think after a week's rest, I think he'll be. It's one of those intriguing ones. Who knows what will happen? But I'd like to think he'll be still the majority ruck of the two, even if they both play. And yeah, so we don't want to get distracted too much here, disrupting your bold predictions. But yes, I think he will score well.
No, that's okay. My bold predictions are very important. My next bold prediction: the Bombers have been in a bit of a slump, Clinton. I don't know if you noticed. Yeah, they've been disgusting, to be honest. But they've been in a bit of a slump. But on Anzac Day, I've got Jai Caldwell to come out and score 120 plus.
Yeah, I'll accept that as bold. Just so you know, Blake, I can barely see your mouth at the moment. You have to change the screen. You're a bit slumped. There you go. That's better. You got to cover. That's better. There we go.
Sorry, mate. Sorry about that. Yep.
Yeah. Jai Caldwell. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Yep. And my other one was O'Driscoll to score under 70.
I don't like that.
It's bold. Is it bold enough for you?
It is relatively bold considering his last 2 weeks. Yes, he scored back-to-back 100, so I'll give you that. But I definitely do not want to see that. You're spreading bad karma.
Yeah, I did that last time, and I've got a bit of backlash from our Discord for doing it. But I've done it again, so we'll see how that comes out.
If that does happen,
sorry about that, Lion King.
Go into hiding.
You keep on
moving your head down like this, Blake. You're talking like this.
It's sorry for the YouTube who really want to see my mouth moving when I'm speaking.
There's going to be 10,000 views this week, so
podcast listeners probably don't care where my mouth is positioned. But thank you for watching, everyone who's watching my mouth move on the show.
You're doing it again. Keep going.
It's when I'm looking at our Discord chat, Clinton, which is everyone that's in our Discord chat are our Patreon subscribers. So if you haven't seen us on there, go to our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/MINYIP Fantasy Sports Community to get a part of our group chats. And so we'll cover some community questions now, Clinton. Ongoing now, I'll be posting on Twitter on Tuesdays and through our Discord questions about their teams and questions about how they're looking for the upcoming round. So go onto our Twitter at MINYIP_FSC so you can check out that and post your questions on the Tuesday for our Wednesday night recordings. So here's our community questions. I know you love that, Clinton. So the first one The first one I've got for you, Clinton, is what to do with Matt Rao, which was asked by Azza in our Discord.
He's going for me. He's obviously on face value at the start of the year was a great pick and became a must-have after I think it was the first couple of rounds. But just watching the last couple of weeks, obviously it's a bit concerning. Him playing a bit of a negative role. He's not a great runner to spread and get the ball a lot. So I think his scoring relies on a lot of stoppages. And I think obviously with Wits going quite well, Tuke Miller in there also, I think there's a very good chance he'll score well in games around stoppages. But as soon as it becomes a fast game or I just have those concerns. So at his price now, I think it's time we're starting to get aggressive with our trades, and he's someone I'm looking to move on.
Yeah, I didn't get him from the start based on his scoring from last year, and he's starting to really replicate what he did last season. He did make a bit of cash for you, though, didn't he, Clinton?
Yeah, obviously I don't have it right in front of me now, but yeah, he's obviously was going north and looking solid, but the last couple of weeks he's really stagnated, and he's going for me. So I guess the big question is who you're trading to. And it was currently still in 57% of teams, and who you're
Yeah,
trading to. So I think that's the big question. And I think in years gone by, we'll probably be more conservative with trades and hold someone like Real. But I think with the amount of players we all have who are making a lot of cash, I think we can afford to move on Real. So he's got a break
yeah,
even of 103. We don't really want him to score another 60 and lose money. So owners should be, I think, looking to move him on. So the last 2 weeks, 65 and 64. So, big question is who you're going to, but I think it's time to move on him.
yeah. I agree. If I had him, I would be trying to move him on as well. Next one is Brodie Grundy, Clinton. Are you concerned about the performances he's been putting out with Darcy Cameron coming into the team, Cox taking a bit of ruck time as well? Are you concerned about him going forward?
I am. I'm not sure if it's anything to do with. I haven't seen a lot of the Pies games, so it's hard for me to properly judge. But I'm not sure it's got something to do with the game style of the Pies or not. I think his score on the weekend was impacted a lot by his efficiency. So I think he's still a solid pick and he'll score well. It's just whether or not, with the extra trades that we have throughout the year, is it wise to try and to get creative? Obviously, with Bruce on the bubble, we can get creative and then come mid-season look to get him back, which I think that's an avenue which is worth looking at. I think that's the way I'm going down. It depends on everyone's structures. So, for example, I've had Gawn and Grundy from the start, and to get in the likes of Bruce and Sam Hayes next week, if that happens, I think Grundy's the one to move on. So depends on everyone's teams, but am I worried? In terms of the whole year, I'm not. But in the short term, I think I'm worried enough to move him on and try and get creative to improve my team and then get him back maybe mid-year. I think the other important note is that he normally dominates Essendon. So I wonder if he'll have a big bounce back game, but I'm going to get creative and move him on, I think.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat as you. My next question is a bit of a one without notice for you, Clinton. This round we've had our DPPs change, so players have gained eligibility to different positions. How has this impacted upon your team, and how does this impact upon your structure going forward?
I think it should be congratulated, or how well it's set up now with the DPPs and how it's in a positive way impacted everyone's games and can make it more fun for Supercoach. So it opens up avenues to spread out your players who have got that status now. For the obvious ones, the likes of Nick Dacos going back. Off the top of my head, who's changed recently? Other
They've had
players.
Lipinski's gone forward.
Yeah, I think the likes of even Luke Parker has got forward status.
Correct, yep.
And even the likes of some of the rookie players like Martin now having mid status, McDonald having forward status. So it opens up avenues to move your players around a lot. So I think even after, I think it's round 11, it'll happen again. So it's a great way that we can move around players and juggle around your team. So it's good. It's a great thing.
Some players that have also moved, Clinton, would you be considering in your team? One, Scott Pendlebury's now defender as well. He's the 6th highest scoring defender. Would you be considering him at all?
At this point in time, no. I think depends on how many other premium defenders you have. And if you're looking to upgrade, I think I'd be targeting probably more trusted premiums. And well, obviously Pendles is a superstar. It's just more you always have to weigh up his age and what position. He played more midfield, I think, over the weekend, so he's going to be moved around a bit. And so I'll be looking at other defender premiums.
Yeah, and the likes of McDonald, the Hawthorn rookie, he's now a forward as well. And also Sherry for North Melbourne, he's got ruck eligibility as well now. That'll be pretty significant going forward if you need to cover the likes of Bruce or Sam Hayes doing some loopholing with Hayes and Dixon. So I think that'll be pretty important going forward as well, that having that eligibility to swing your players around.
Absolutely, yeah. It's obviously a very important aspect of the rule changes with Supercoach. And yeah, the likes of Tim English has been a talking point for almost every week now. So the rucks are almost the biggest talking point with how many we have and how can we fit them all into our team. So everyone's slightly different. So, it's exciting.
Yep. Did you have any other play? That was the end of our community questions, Clinton. Do you have any other players to discuss before we go into our trade plans?
No, I think Grundy's a very important one. Rao was obviously important. I think there's people moving on. Jason Horn-Francis. Obviously, it depends on your team. If you're moving him on, want to be a really important reason. I'm looking to keep him for the short term. I still think he's got a few more weeks in him to rebound and score well. I think he had a bit similar to Brodie Grundy, just a bit of an off game. That's all for me, mate. So I think everyone's different. So next week, if you want us to discuss players, maybe send through those questions to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about my trade plans now, Clinton. It's a bit more upbeat one, that one. I saw you bopping along in the background there, Clinton. So my plans initially was to trade out Chapman from Fremantle, which has worked out because he has been announced in the last hour or so that he is out for COVID protocols. So he's going to be transferred out for, even though I put the jinx on him earlier, he's going to be traded out for O'Driscoll. And my move as well, so that I can free up cash and upgrade other players with the positioning and everything. Brodie Grundy is making way for Braden Bruce, who's on the bubble this week, which will free up cash. And my other trade, so that allows me enough trade to pretty much upgrade De Koning to whoever I want. And at this stage is Alex Witherden in the back line, Clinton.
Wow. So De Koning, you're looking to move on. For me, he's going to be a bit of a slow keeper.
He's a very slow burn. At the scoring he's going at, he's going to reach his maximum potential at about 230k, and reach that by about round 10. At the scoring he's currently going, is going to only make another 50K or so.
Yeah, I'll get to my plan soon, which is important in terms of talking about deconing. But my question is this: are you sure you want to have that cash to be spending right now on Alex Witherden? Out of all the defenders, so what price is Alex Witherden?
520.
Out of all the defenders, he's the one you want. That's my question to you. Out of the
What?
likes of Jake Lloyd, have you got? Is that like a squeeze? Like, can you just afford Alex Witherden, or can you afford anyone?
No, I could afford anyone.
You can afford anyone, and you're going Alex Witherden.
Correct.
Okay,
He's
I wish you luck. Enjoy Supercoach. Do what you want. It's good. I won't talk you
he's
out of it.
no, that's okay. He's the highest averaging player over the last 3 rounds.
Yeah, no, well, I wish you well. You can laugh at me in a couple of weeks when he's scoring 130s for fun. So, no, it's good.
Yep. What
But
have you got in store for us, Clinton?
I will laugh at you if it doesn't turn well. As discussed, I'm going to do Grundy to Bruce as well. My second trade at this point is I'm taking out Gibkiss, who I'm tossing up whether it's him or DeConing. I'm not sure which way I'll go, but at this point I'm going Gibkiss out. I'm not convinced even he'll be back this week. Obviously, he got rested last week. They've got a few of their important players back, so I'd rather keep DeConing. I think he's more likely to stay in the team all year compared to Gibkiss. I'm not sure about that, but that's why I'm leaning. The reason, and so as I said earlier, I'm flipping my team around a bit, etc. So I'm sending Dacos back. So there's a bit of a juggling act. So that's why I wanted to get rid of one of these defenders. I'm bringing in Roses. I'm bringing in Roses into my forward line, which then allows me to go Matt Rowell to either. I'm looking at a midfield premium. I'm tossing up between Clayton Oliver and Jack Steele. They're the two I'm really thinking about. Obviously, there's a lot of Brayshaw as well that I could consider, but I'm leaning towards Clayton Oliver, despite his high break even of about 170. He's still slightly cheaper than Steele, and with the fixtures I'm looking at the next right up until the buys. I like Melbourne's fixtures better than St Kilda. I trust Melbourne more than St Kilda, and I'm thinking now's a good time to get him in. And that's still, even if I did that those 3 trades, that sets me up well to have about 220k in the bank. And as I said, at this point, potentially I'm eyeing off Hobbs and Hayes next week, which will be even more money in the bank, depending on who fails of my bench rookies. So my team's well set up, and yeah, I'm attacking it, and that would leave me with 26 trades. So still going quite hard early, but hopefully I can get a bit of a gap on, despite being ranked 16k. Hopefully my team's in a great place to go well the next month. That's a long spiel. I'll take a breath.
No, that's okay. Just with the Gibkiss and DeConing, they're both going to be on your bench anyway. You're not going to be playing them on field. So for me,
Correct.
It's really about who's going to make you the most money. And according to the Supercoach price prediction, Gibkiss still has another 65k to make, whereas DeConing's 50k. So if you need DeConing playing in the future and you trust it that he's going to be playing ahead of Gibkiss, you'd probably go the way you said, yeah.
As I said, it's also the factor that I'm not sure Gibkiss will play this week. And the other thing is, I can send DeConing forward, which allows me to keep. I'm still quite keen to have Hinge and McCartan, so I can flip McCartan and DeConing still, but then I have Hinge on the bench. So I just for structure reasons, it's also that's why I've gone Gibkiss out.
No, yeah, fair enough. And yeah, I'm tempted by Roses as well. Probably instead of O'Driscoll, but
I
I
think you
just
need
think
O'Driscoll.
my concern is the COVID sweeping through Fremantle at the moment with the 2 outs this week so far.
Yeah, obviously. If he's we're recording Wednesday night. By Thursday or Friday, he could be out with COVID reasons. So that obviously wouldn't bring him in then. So
Yeah, another reason I'm considering Witherden is that he's currently in 0.2% of teams, and I think I need a few differentials to come back up the rankings a bit. Um, Looking at my team and the ownership of my team, there's barely a player under 25% ownership in the game. So I think I need a couple of differentials to really boost me up the rankings. If it pays off, it'll be look good. If it doesn't, you'll be able to laugh at me.
I just be careful of that. I think everyone's, despite the percentage numbers, everyone's teams are different. So it does make sense. But at the same time, if you have that mindset, you'll continually bring in these low percentage players. And yeah, I'll just be careful of that. The other thing we need to do, Blake, is the VC and C. Who you're
Oh,
looking
that's a
at.
great call.
Yeah.
You go first.
As I said, I was thinking about bringing in Jack Steele, but I'm going to lean towards Oliver. So Jack McRae's the easy VC now. And then my backup captaincy would probably be Lockie Neal, or I could be tempted towards one of my Melbourne boys. But VC McRae, and I'm likely to take that because he monsters anyone he plays against in Ballarat. And I'm hopeful for my loophole reasons, Dylan Stevens, I want him to come back soon, but there's every chance he's still out, and if that's the case, he'll be in my loophole, which is not everyone has that luxury at the moment.
Yeah, currently my loop, I don't really have a looping option at the moment if Gibcus comes back into play. Other than that, everyone else played last week, but Hinge plays early, so that sort of counts him out. So yeah, I don't really have that.
He'll be back this week.
That's what I'm predicting as well.
Yeah, straight
So
C McRae.
I don't have McRae, so I won't be.
Okay.
What I wanted to do was put the VC on Bontempelli, who in 2020 scored 199 against Adelaide. And before that, he played them in 2019 and scored 140. So my plan was to VC Bontempelli.
I think those scores are a bit irrelevant. Looking into history like that, that's my opinion, but carry on.
And my captaincy option would be Lockie Neal against Gold Coast. Even if, yeah, he could dominate against them, but also they could send Rao to him as a tagger, which I'm at the moment willing to take that risk. I think a looping option will pop up. Just I don't really have one in mind at the moment.
Yep. Okay. Good luck.
That pretty much wraps up our Supercoach. Clinton, did you have anything further to add about Supercoach before we jump into fantasy?
Don't think so. Obviously, we'll timestamp it if we can. So yeah, we spoke for a bit longer than what we had planned, but
just a bit.
Just a bit. No, I think the biggest thing to remind people of is that we are going for overall. We're not playing necessarily for league, so that's why with the trades we have, I'm attacking it. And no, I think it's good.
We're going for
mindset.
overall ranking and overall winners of our Patreon as well. We're passionate about our community there as well.
Absolutely, but I'm going for top score. Yeah, I'm not. What I mean by that, Blake, is I'm not focusing on my matchups, trying to beat my opponent in leagues. I'm trying to get the highest score possible and the highest rank possible. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's all right, mate. Yep, let's. I knew what you meant. That's okay. Let's get into AFL Fantasy. Yep, thought we'd have something to just break it up a bit there, Clinton. AFL Fantasy. If you are just joining us now for this segment, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the show on YouTube. Or if you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify podcast, make sure you leave a like and review on those platforms as well. Let's get into how we scored last round in round 5, Clinton. So I scored 2021. So not too bad. I've scored over 2,000 each week so far, so pretty happy with that. And my overall ranking is 3,009.
Going well, Blake. Can you remember who you traded in and out last week, or not really?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Too much race.
I traded out. I took an early trade out of Paddy McCartan,
Okay.
and I downgraded him to O'Driscoll.
Yes.
To give me a bit of cash generation to bring in Jackson McRae for Patrick Cripps.
Good moves. Well done. My score, a bit lower than you. I scored 1997, year of the Adelaide Crows. My unfortunate ranking is 20,914. My team has been stuffed around by focusing on trying to get rookies who are scoring. So it feels like I've been fiddling around with a lot of my bench options, and it's been affecting my scores. So not much has gone right with my trade so far. Last week, Hinge was out, so I decided to move him on for O'Driscoll. And then, despite, as I sort of said with my trades, I wanted to bring in Sam Hayes at his price, knowing that he's going to be playing for quite a long time for Port Adelaide. So I'd had enough of Matt Rowell with AFL Fantasy, so I took him out, which, if you do the math, that left me a lot of money in the bank, which now gives me opportunity to start using that wisely. So, I've just a bit of a dismal start, but looking at my overall team, it looks okay. It's just, just a lot of just middling scores. So I'm in a good position now to really start, hopefully, climb the ranks. So my ranking of 20,000, I'm highly expecting. Fingers crossed that's my lowest point for the year, and I can start really making ground.
Yeah, hopefully you'll start catching up to me soon, Clinton.
Oh,
Let's
here he
get
is.
into. I love talking AFL Fantasy with you, Clinton.
Okay.
Let's get into hits and misses from round 5. Oh yeah, that was good. I like that one.
Yeah. Do you want me to go? Giggles.
Yeah, that'll be good. Thank you.
My hits, just a couple of guys I want to give a pat on the back. I'll start with hit the hits. So, Max Gorn, a lot of people got rid of after the first 1 or 2 weeks. So I'm happy to still have his 132 in my team. And my other hit, who deserves a pat on the back, is James Sicily. He's well owned by almost half the competition, but the score of 118. Happy with his score. Do you want to say your hits, or do you want me to talk about my negatives?
Now I'll go through my hits. I've just had a coughing fit, but I'm good.
Good to hear.
My number one hit from last round, who a lot of people traded out, Lockie Whitfield came out and scored 101. You were one of the people that jumped off, weren't you, Clinton?
No, I said Rowell. No, I got rid of Rowell. I've kept Whitfield.
Oh, you kept Whitfield in.
I got rid of him in Supercoach. Yeah,
that's right. Sorry. And my other hit was my captain in Lockie Neal scoring 119 for me. I was pretty happy McRae matched that as well after I brought him in. But Lockie Neal is my captain, 119, who was my VC, and looped in with Gibkiss. Your Mrs. Clinton.
My misses. The first one is this is controversial. I'm giving it to Ken Hinkley because
Wow.
I had Tristan Cherry on my bench, which who I looped. He scored 86 or something like that, which I was
Yes.
happy with. I had Jed McEntee in my team. He was out. I needed him to stay out. I was pretty confident that he wasn't going to be named medical sub. He was, which then I was forced to play Corey Durden, who scored 46. So my real negative or my real miss is Corey Durden because I wanted him to lift for me because I wasn't taking Cherry's 86. I wanted Durden to try and get close to that. He scored 46. So I was really hoping he'd score a bit more. So Corey Durden, miss number one. The obvious big miss was Brody Grundy, scored 54. Disappointing. It's interesting to think that obviously we've mentioned I'm trading him in Supercoach, but in fantasy, I haven't really considered trading him. So I'm hopeful he can bounce it back. And yeah, I might not need to look into that, but I'm keeping him so far in AFL Fantasy. I just want to give a special mention, Blake. Tuke Miller, I raved about for weeks, and I've captained him the last 3 weeks, I think. And despite having the VC on, McRae or Neil or whoever it was, I couldn't loop that score. And Tuke scored 99 as captain. So I've been rather disappointed. Well, actually, I could have kept. I just trusted Tuke, and yeah, he scored 99. So I need him to lift.
Yep. 99 is not too bad, but it's a bit of
No, you want
it's,
120s plus as captain. Yep.
wow.
Carry on.
Oh, poor Took. My number one miss, well, obviously was the Essendon Football Club, but in terms of AFL fantasy, we'll go Rao scoring me 66. Well done in trading him out, Clinton. I really need to get rid of him this week. My other one, I've got Brody Grundy as well. Horn Francis is all around the ball, but somehow still only scored 56. He was my next lowest score that I was expecting to be a bit higher. So Horn Francis cops my other miss that I got on the weekend, Clinton.
Yeah, a bit harsh. He still is a rookie, so I was harsh on Durden, but I need him to lift for me. But yeah, he's still only a rookie, so yeah, no, but fair enough. He's
I had a
near
few
that
low rookie
chopping
scores
block.
on the weekend. Yeah, I had
Yeah,
Rochelle score 53. I ended up fielding Jackson. I thought Jackson Mead would have scored better. I thought he would have scored higher than Ward, which was my bad because Mead only ended up scoring 40 for me. So I'm pretty happy with my defenders at the moment. They're all performing pretty well. Let's get into community questions, Clinton. Did you have any questions regarding some players?
well, first of all, Blake, yeah, as you said earlier, if you want people mentioned on this video and recording, feel free to send or reply to the tweets that you'll send out or via Discord. But any players that are worth mentioning, I think the one big one for me at the moment, let's discuss Matt Crouch. Have you got Matt Crouch?
I don't have Matt Crouch.
Yeah, so he's
I
currently
was contemplating. Yeah, contemplating it. So
17%,
yeah,
17% owned. He's looked okay. I've been watching a bit of the Crows. He's looked okay, but his last two scores have been 78 and 66. I think Sloan's injury might help him somewhat. So if it wasn't for that injury, I probably would have traded him. But with Sloan going down, I'm pretty confident. Well, yeah, some interest in Adelaide. Matt Crouch is a former Ballarat boy, so on his home deck, maybe he can respond. So I'm going to keep him for another week. So if you had Matt Crouch, would you trade him or keep him?
if I had the luxury to, if I had nothing else that was really pressing, I would trade him out. Yes.
Yep. I've got another one for you.
Just
So
yep.
with players to target this week, so are you someone who has Bruce in AFL Fantasy?
I got him last
Early,
week.
yeah.
Yes, when he actually played. Yep.
Yeah. So just looking at players who we should be getting. So um, are you interested in Sam Hayes or not really? You don't have him yet?
I don't have Sam Hayes. I don't really have a position for him without trading out one of Hugh Dixon or Hayes for St Kilda. And Hayes has got another go for St Kilda this week with Paddy Ryder still being out for one more week. So I don't really have a spot for Sam Hayes at the moment.
Yeah. And then obviously we'll be discussing our trades later. But I think Hobbs is another player we need to seriously think about this week with how well he played, especially late in that game for the Bombers, and with their current situation. You'd think he'd get some more games and midfield time. So he's one to look at for sure.
Yeah, his second half was very impressive. He was the only positive I'd take out of that game for Essendon, that how well he stepped up in the second half. He was pretty quiet early, but he really worked his way into the game, and I think we can see that going forward for him. When other midfielders and for Essendon want to put their heads over the ball, he was chasing hard. So that was pretty impressive performance, scoring 72, and he's got a break even of 9 for this week. So it's not too late for Ben Hobbs.
Yeah. What about you, Blake? Any players you want to talk about?
I mainly want to just talk about this ruck situation. So the highest averaging ruckman is Tim English, but if I had him, I'd be playing him as a forward. Max Gawn and then Bruce is currently averaging 96. And then Brody Grundy's next highest averaging player. So I'm not considering trading Grundy out in fantasy. He's the fourth highest averaging player and will probably pass Bruce soon anyway. It's really going to be difficult how to fit all these ruckmen in. Have you currently got Bruce?
I do, yes. I brought him in, a couple of weeks ago. The
If
interesting
you
thing is,
didn't, sorry, if you didn't, would you consider, if you had a similar setup where you had Hugh Dixon and Hayes on the bench, would you consider side swapping them to a Bruce?
that's a good question. I made the silly mistake early of getting rid of Hugh Dixon. I didn't think he'd stay in the team long, and he's proven me wrong. So I've missed out on his cash. So that's why it sort of was quite easy for me to get Bruce in when I think it was after his first good score. That's when I brought him in. Would I bring him in? He's 467. I think if he was rucking alone this week, I would definitely get him in. If depends on the rest of your team, obviously, but if you had no other real trades that were forced, potentially, yeah, I'd still get him. So I'm fielding him obviously at R3 still. So, I think he will score well. It's just how much trust we all have that he can stay in the team for a month to 6 weeks and score well. Then we can generate the. That's what we want him to do. Is just play, score reasonably well, and then trade him in that time. So. Depends on the other cash generators, but I'd still be trying to get him in if I could. Would I get rid of Dixon or Jack Hayes? I'm not sure. It's an interesting question. So there's no way you can keep Dixon in the forward line, Hugh Dixon. If you got other forwards you could get rid of instead, who's your forwards bench?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, you could, if you had a similar setup to me. I've currently got DeConing there as my forward bench, who's not making much money at all. So
There's your
it's
answer.
yeah. I'd just like to discuss some defenders with you, Clinton. There's some
Yeah.
quite good options around here. The top three highest scorers at the moment is Jaden Short, Doherty, and Jack Sinclair. My boy Sinclair, I was messaging you about. That's why I'm guessing you're smirking. would you be going out of your way to try and get either of these three players in?
Not right now. So Short put in a pretty low score, I believe. Sinclair is obviously playing really well. I think he may be gone past the price now that you'd be willing to pay for someone like him, I think. And who was the third one? Sorry.
Doherty.
Doherty, yeah, well, he also put in a relatively low score. So I wouldn't be forcing them in this week. No. With the situation with the DPPs, the likes of, Dacos could be flipped back. And, I think there's players in the midfield I'll be trying to get in at their prices rather than the defenders. For example, I've got the likes, just obviously talking about my team, but I've got Whitfield, Hewitt, Sicily, Rioli's been a surprise pick who's done reasonably well. He's got a bit low on the weekend, but he's been going quite well. Another player who I got who was a risky pick at selection a couple of weeks ago was Angus Brayshaw. So now he's got defensive status, and since I've got him in, he scored 70 and 75. So I'll be wanting to see some scores from him. Otherwise, I'll be upgrading him. So there's some players who are scoring reasonably well. So it's just how your team's balanced and how quickly you want to force upon getting those premiums, top premiums in. So depends which parts of your team you want to get the rookies off field. And currently, it's the midfield which I need to address, not more so than my defense.
I'm in exactly the same boat as you, Clinton. My defenders are pretty much set for the time being. I've got Short, Crisp, Whitfield, Sinclair, Hewitt, and Sicily. Whitfield's my lowest performing defender, and I've also got Dacos in the midfield who could easily swing to defenders. So I've got 4 out of the top 5 scoring defenders. Dacos is 12th and Whitfield's 15th highest scoring. Brayshaw, that's a great selection considering how he's moved to defence because he's the 11th highest scoring defender so far.
Yeah, but that was largely due to one score in round 3 when he scored 156. So I'd want him to start scoring at least 100 again for him to really stay on the team in about a month's time. But as I said, scanning over my team, I've still got some forward players who are rising in price and scoring well. It's just probably my last 2 to 3 spots in my midfield, which is the areas to address. So that's what I'll be trying to do this week.
Yeah, let's get into our trades, Clinton. So you want to target your midfield that you want to upgrade?
Yeah, as I said, I've got 571k in the bank. So
wow,
a lot will depend on team selection, obviously. But Jed McEntee, who I mentioned, didn't play on the weekend. I'm not confident that he'll be coming back in soon. He might, so we'll see how the selection plays out. But I want to get in Hobbs, so that's simple sort of side swap for him. But I'm tossing up between Horn Francis and Ward going out of my team. At this stage, I'm probably going Ward out, which then leaves me with roughly 900k to spend on a premium midfielder. And I'm decided I think I want to back in Oliver in both formats. I think with Melbourne's start to the year and as we've discussed earlier, looking at their fixtures right up until the buys, I think he's someone who can really start getting back to his real best. So he's someone I'm eyeing off. Obviously, I could have tried to spend up a little bit more even to get the loss of Brayshaw or someone who is at this point scoring a bit more, but I think Oliver's a pretty safe premium pick to get in now. So that would leave me, in terms of my bottom sort of midfielders, that will leave me with O'Driscoll and Dacos on field, but then, the likes of Crouch and players like that. So I'm pretty happy with how that's looking now. So O'Driscoll is my main rookie on field. So
those trades seem fair enough. And your captains?
Similar to what I mentioned before, I think I'll be leaning towards McRae VC. And then, yeah, I don't think I'll trust the C on Miller. He's let me down, pretty much 3 weeks straight. So I'll be leaning towards perhaps even backing in Oliver coming freshly into my team. So, we'll see how selection plays out.
Yeah, very good. My team, just similar to yours, I need to upgrade my midfield. The players that I don't like having so much value on my bench currently. So I've got Rochelle, Hayes. Rochelle and Hayes are the big ones. They're over 400k each. And so I don't really like having that much value sitting there. And one more low score, they potentially might not have that much more cash to make. So I'm potentially going to be making an early trade out again. And I'm looking to bring in Hobbs, just similar to you. And that will give me 233k to upgrade Rao. I don't have the massive bank of cash sitting there like you do. And so that will give me 233k to get a player under 800k. And the best player that I think I'll be bringing in for that amount of money, I did have it in front of me, Clinton, but now I've just lost it because I reversed my trades.
Before you say the name,
the big name, yep.
Before you say that name, just with that strategy, obviously early in the year it's slightly different, but once you start getting to this stage, you'd probably, if you're spending up that much money, you'd be wanting them to be in the top, top 8 in the midfield. So your mindset should be either sorting out rookies, but if you're going to be spending that much money now, I'd be trying to target like a top 8 midfielder, unless it's someone who's fallen a lot and he's still confident they can get to that top status. So I'm intrigued to know who he's going to say now. It's when you bring in these types of players now, you'd be wanting them to be there all year. I'd suggest anyway.
My player was Tom Green for GWS.
Tom Green. So what's his price now?
He's still at 782.
No, it's one of those ones that you could go either way. What ranked midfielder is he at the moment for the season?
He is 12.
Yeah, it's an intriguing one. Good luck. Back yourself in, Blake. Back yourself in. Don't let me. He'd still be going up in price, so
it would
be. I think that's it's just something to consider. Everyone has their own ways of going about it. He may go up in price the next few weeks, and then you could swap him again later. But it's worth thinking about those type of strategies.
Yeah, because I'm not going to be trading out my rucks at the moment at Grundy and Bruce. I'm not making any trades there. My forwards, they're still scoring quite well for me. Dunkley, Butters, Brody, Martin, Nash for West Coast, and Sherry for North Melbourne. So they're still scoring quite well.
Nash was a great pick.
Yeah, I'm not looking to trade out. In fantasy, I said this at the start of the season, I like to take a few more risks, and he was one of those that have paid off.
Yep.
My captains was McRae into Neil. My issue again being I don't have a looping option at the moment, but actually it'll be Hoff for West Coast. I don't think he'll be coming back into the team.
Yeah, obviously that reminds me, I don't think I'll have a loop either, but team selection could be interesting.
Yeah, I'll be posting our teams on Friday now, on a ongoing basis prior to the game starting.
One more thing. So if you have O'Driscoll and Horne-Francis, who would you start? I'm starting O'Driscoll. Would start O'Driscoll over him?
No, I'd be starting Horne-Francis personally.
Okay.
I think he's just got a better role. I think he's going to keep playing more and more midfield minutes each week. Horne-Francis, he was all around the ball, whereas O'Driscoll was out on the wing and relying on the ball being fed out to him.
Yep. Good point. Interesting.
Yeah, I like to focus on the role they're playing with the rookies.
Fair enough.
That wraps up all I had to say about AFL Fantasy. Clinton, did you have anything further to add?
No, I think it's I haven't been too pleased so far this year, but it's only, I think we worked it out before, about 300 points, and that could be made up relatively quickly. So you're off to a bit of a head start, but it's I think, as we discussed earlier, it's exciting start to the year. The footy's great to watch. A lot of teams you have to play well to win these days, and it's an even comp, so that's great to see. And I'm looking forward to really using this cash this week to bring in Oliver, and hopefully I'll start skyrocketing in the ranks.
Yeah, it's potentially why you're a bit down in the ranks, is because you've reserved that cash, and now you can really push into the season now, Clinton.
Yeah, thanks, Blake.
Thought you just need some advice there. All right, thanks for joining us, Clinton. We're aiming for half an hour for our show this evening. We've ended up doing half an hour for each of Supercoach and Fantasy. So like we've said, we've joined it together for this week. So hope you enjoy it. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel or the Apple and Spotify podcast, wherever you're listening to us. Good luck for round 6, Clinton.
You too, Blake.